was asking to clarify your stance on fracking.
Yeah, fracking. Yeah, fracking. No, I don't support fracking at all, and I never have. And I've signed the No Fossil Fuels Money Pledge, and I have never received a dime from any natural gas or oil company whatsoever. Here in Braddock, I live across the street from a steel mill, and that steel mill has been in operation here since 1875. And because of foreign competition, it's struggling, and the jobs and livelihood of nearly 3,000 families is contingent on those mills staying open. And they came up with an idea where they would drill 2 wells on their industrial site, not in my community, by the way, several communities down, but not in my community. So these 2 wells, and because one of their largest single expenses is the natural gas to power the blast furnaces. And without this step, without drilling their own wells for gas, the economic viability of these 3 mills that it's connected to are in grave jeopardy. And that's 3,000 union family sustaining jobs that are at risk. And I said, in a state that already has 10,000 wells, I think that's a strong trade-off for 2 wells to save the jobs of 3,000 men and women, and union jobs and all the people that depend on them. So that's not pro fracking. That's saying I'm pro union, I'm pro family, I'm pro steel, and I think that that was a compelling argument in order to do that. So.
Do you feel that if we went more energy dependent and things like that, that would create even more jobs?
Absolutely. I would love to have us transition to be a completely renewable energy economy. I was proud to participate with the Environmental Defense Fund back in 2010. And we had a campaign with the Steelworkers and the Sierra Club, the Brueggeline Alliance, to help promote cap and trade legislation. But unfortunately, the Republicans killed that, as we know. So from an environmental standpoint, we have to acknowledge that. And I would love a transition to green energy. And I think we need to make those important investments. But I also think that there's a way of life, and there's thousands of jobs at stake. And I think there's a reality that exists there that I could not turn my back on the union men and women there and say, my opposition to something does not outweigh your right to earn and provide food, shelter, and a living that takes care of you and your family, and that's the only way of life that you've known.
So, and being in Pennsylvania, we are second. Texas is the #1 state with pipelines, and we're #2, which is crazy. I didn't actually know that. But I went to a place outside of Lancaster called Conestoga, and when you go there, you see pipelines everywhere. They're on people's property. They are going under a school.
You're referencing the Mariner East too?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I actually toured the Mariner East pipeline as a candidate, and I was truly appalled by what I saw. I've never seen anything like it. It was surreal. I saw people with little children, and their backyards were torn up, and they were fenced off, and they didn't have any rights. And when we drove up to one of the sites, they were taking our picture, and we were under surveillance, and they wrote down our license plate, and they made a bunch of calls, and they were looking at us through binoculars like we were in North Korea or something. It was completely disorienting and disturbing, the way we were treated when I was on this tour. And it's just, I'm appalled. And they have evacuation procedures where they say, don't call anybody, don't do anything, just run away from the pipeline for 1.5 miles because a cell phone could activate a trigger an explosion. I mean, just surreal kind of stuff out of some Orwellian kind of nightmare. And it's like, I just couldn't believe that this was happening in our country. And I just can't believe that they're digging up people's backyards and they're shipping this dangerous substance through this aging pipeline that's 80 years old without telling everybody. It's appalling. It's absolutely appalling. And every elected official in Pennsylvania, I think it should be mandatory that they all go on that same that same Mariner East tour that I did, because you hear the word pipeline and you think, oh, pipeline, it's like, intellectually you think you understand it. You don't. I didn't understand it till I saw it firsthand. I didn't understand it until I saw it going through people's backyards with children, little toddlers, and they couldn't play in their backyard. And it's like, it was just horrible. And all this is just shipping plastic, compound, or, for plastics to be made in Europe. It's just, there's no rationale for what's occurring with that. So
I'm Steve Grumbine with Real Progressives. Have a kick-ass evening, friends. Keep fighting, stay in the game, and please, each one teach one. And if you have a few bucks, throw them over to Real Progressives so we can upgrade our video quality, our podcasts coming, and all the other things that it takes to run a major company that we're trying to become so we can kick some ass. All right, I'm out. Have a good night, everybody.